I will introduce our first speaker for the day, Mr. Ahmed Ameen Ashur, an Education Industry Director at Microsoft UAE since January 2014. Ahmed is dedicated to leading the company's engagement within the education sector. His work includes building key alliances with government and ministries of education, key universities, as well as private education organizations, focusing on driving education transformation with the use of technology. Ahmed holds a Master's of Science degree in Computer Science from University of Louisville and a Bachelor's degree in Business Administration from Ain Shams University. So please welcome the Education Industry Director of Microsoft UAE, Ahmed Ameen Ashur, who will give a talk on schools after COVID-19. So Ahmed, over to you.
Thank you, Kate. I think we have a video to start and I'll go on.
Every generation has the opportunity to inspire those that follow in their footsteps, to pass along the wisdom, knowledge, and experience needed to reach new heights. Microsoft is working to create a better learning environment for every student with modern tools that are intuitive, collaborative, and accessible to all, so every student is empowered to achieve more. This is the modern classroom, where we go beyond memorization of facts and figures and a one-size-fits-all education, where students learn in the way they learn best, on the tools they will use in the future, where teachers create experiences that spark creativity, and everyone can collaborate anytime, anywhere. Microsoft Education, empowering the students of today to create the world of tomorrow.
Thank you, Kate, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure being here in the third STEM Best Practice event. I still remember when I went to the second event, and it was, I think, 2018. Definitely a different, much different setup than what we're having today. So before the pandemic disrupted our lives and forced our kids to open their laptops and learn from home, the first day of school was rite of passage, the start of life-determining journey that has broadly followed the same shape and rhythm for generations. From kindergarten to universities, classrooms are run by educators who deliver lessons that start and end with a bell. They set tests which over examinations and postgraduates, they might delight, disappoint, or even surprise parents. This one-size-fits-all approach to education has been in place for a couple of hundreds of years now. However, it's undergoing an unprecedented change, and not just because of the COVID. The response to pandemic has demonstrated how technology can help transform how we teach and learn. But the push for change started long before the pandemic struck, and it will go on long after that subsidence. For years, policymakers have been exploring new transformative approaches for K-12 education that go far beyond just online lessons at home. Rethinking the learning. As lockdowns ease now, and schools start to reopen. In some places across our region, it's a good time to take stock and look at the likely future of education. Children who start school from now on will grow up to be workers and leaders in the digital-first world that will demand new skills and new ways of thinking. To succeed in life and at work, they will need all social, emotional, and academic support that they can get via rich and flexible learning experiences that will differ vastly from school days in their parents. In short, education age, all three R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, are being joined by a fourth new one, which is rethinking. New data-based technologies are opening up ways to transform practice, structure, and even cultures in school. Technology has changed many aspects of our society over many years, but school structures have largely stayed the same. Now we have solutions that have the potential to transform and improve the system, so students can achieve more and develop valuable skills with better outcomes. The question for us now is, how can we use the technology to rethink education? We need a systematic shift in which education will move away from a teaching culture to a learning culture. Real-time data, innovations like artificial intelligence, and a range of new devices and tools will help transform the rules of relationship of students, teachers, and parents. From a student point of view, we will be empowered to learn for themselves in flexible, often collaborative ways, both inside and outside the classroom, at their own pace. They will be able to follow their own interests and be challenged where appropriate. From teachers, they will have access to individualized real-time data on how well which their students are progressing, emotionally and sociologically, so they can diverse and new challenges and offer appropriate support for each children to move ahead. And finally, also with parents, will be better connected to an individual with their children's education, with certainly details and confidence. Over the past few decades, the focus has been heavily weighted on the classroom experience. I think we will see a shift where schools will create a foundation of inclusive, flexible, data-driven buildings and spaces that will enable students to learn beyond those walls. The physical formality of a classroom culture melting away. The classroom was important when we had to broadcast a certain message at a certain time to a certain group of kids. You had to have them in proximity, but this management and teaching model doesn't have to dominate anymore. In many ways, the classroom has become a physical barrier and just a way of holding onto the past. We are no longer bound by limitations that used to require us to have 30 kids in a classroom with each one teacher. So what is beyond the classroom walls? Now we can rethink the model. It can be multiple teachers with multiple kids. They can be places where kids can move around more flexible. They don't have to do the same thing at the same time in the same way. Schools have been exploring this for some time. Technology changes the success rate for this. Nevertheless, bricks and mortar schools will play a valuable role in the future. For instance, a school is a safe place for children to learn socialized skills where their parents are at work. That won't change. But with data-based technologies, educators will also be able to create flexible learning spaces and continuous learning environment, which will spread across the home, school, and communities. The people-driven learning. Perhaps technology's most direct impact will be emergence of personalized learning, where each student enjoys focused individual attention from teachers who will access real-time data on their progress and problems. This is a fundamental breakthrough for learning. Knowing what is happening in the lives of each student might spell the difference between a toxic path and a prosperous path in the future. With data-rich models, we can help support kids holistically. Technology can recognize patterns, certain conditions that might need intervention. We can become much better at supporting them. Some educators describe this as the data-driven learning, but that is in turn, it's really people-driven learning. Another important element also is the social and emotional well-being. New learning tools will also be able to adjust the need of individual students without instructions or intervention from the teacher. It would be like one of these virtual 10 teachers turning up and brightness over a screen without bothering to tell the teacher. The smarter the technology gets, the more teachers are supported and empowered. Personalized learning and real-time data also see an end to the current cycle. Whole bunch of kids. But once you have the result, it can be very difficult to adjust. You're teaching to address shortfalls because it is too late, as they say. To make all of this work, the profession of teaching must transform, and that will be a challenge for some. Teachers learning alongside with students. There are teachers who teach in the traditional way, and there are great teachers who are also model learners. They learn with the kids, They don't feel like they have to know everything, but they have to show what great learning looks like. Overall, it means inspiring students onto a path of lifelong self-learning. And that can include learning about new technology, which they can learn with kids. If they can explore new ways of doing things, they can all grow together. It says some teachers might struggle with this culture shift. When traditional teaching is your paradigm, you can get trapped inside a rigid mindset of feeling that you must know everything about the subject you teach and that you can't show weakness. Instead, teachers of the future may need to spend less time designing the content, components, and more time around learning experience so that kids can find and create their own meaning around the content. All in all, the pandemic has surely accelerated a well-needed transformation in many areas of our daily lives. Education is one of the main ones, and we are confident that this transformation will not stop here and will continue to progress. We are sure not looking back to go to school, but we're looking to go forward to school. Thank you all for your time, and I would like to leave you with a nice case study from a university in Australia, where a professor has really transformed the way he's interacting with his students, leveraging the artificial intelligence and humanistic education. Thank you, and I hope you all enjoy it.
Diversity, inclusivity, and accessibility are most important in higher education. When we look at 500 students, you have a sample set from every walk of life. How can we make education seamless and frictionless, tailored to the needs and the requirements of every person? I first started using Teams, the front end of a very broad software stack. That includes Office 365, Azure, Cognitive Services, Bot Framework, Dynamics, to deliver a personalized AI-driven experience. If you look at that one single channel for that one single topic, all of the material that's being created, the conversation, the ink, the knowledge base, the notes, the video, is being produced by us together collaboratively. This is where the extraordinary potential lies in changing the way education is delivered. We foster and encourage a learning community, reconnecting humans with humans by using artificial intelligence. In the case of QuestionBot, we built that system with just one person in 8 weeks. Students tag QuestionBot, I'm stuck on at question 2.11. The bot looks at which tutorial class they're in, who the TA is, and says, hey, one of your students has a question. When another student asks a similar question, the bot has trained its own AI, redirecting that student back to the conversation and re-engages that person with like-minded students. What we're able to do with AI is actually very humanistic. We're able to connect people to other people. We're able to personalize the experience. I've asked my students, do you feel part of a learning community? 100% of them say yes.
Wow, thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and thank you for your time. Thank you one more time.